Welcome to the Conquer Your Mountains Week 21 podcast, titled Iron Sharpens Iron. My name is Amanda De Witt, and I am the Senior Editor at the Luca Faith and Inspiration imprint of Penguin Random House, South Africa.
And I am Mandla Moyo, the author of an inspirational book called Conquer Your Mountains, as well as a science fiction book called The Fallen Angel.
Mandla, the title of our episode today is Iron Sharpens Iron. Can you share with us a moment when a challenge or a person in your life acted as the iron that sharpened you?
I've had so many cases where I've been sharpened. I think for me, one of the big moments was when I first went into a management position. That was in 2003, and I became a partner, director at global firm. And I was still new in the position, new into top management. And for a year after that, it was really a sharpening process, just feeling like I was in the deep end, learning how to manage teams, learning how to deal with conflict or issues, learning how to chase budgets. And yeah, that was a sharpening process. It wasn't easy then, but after that period, I felt sharpened. But having said that, there were then other new opportunities where I had to be sharpened again and again. So it's an ongoing process.
So the sharpening is a continuous, you're never sharp enough. You can always be a bit more sharpened a bit more. I like what page I like what page 72 of your book Conquer Your Mountain says about this. Will you please read us that extract?
Yeah, it says, you can become sharper. There is no need for you to be the blunt arrow in the quiver. There is no need to be the weakest link. There is no need for you to be the one that the rest of the team must wait for. Forge your path and make each day a day of growth and relentless sharpening.
In your journey, how have you managed to avoid becoming the blunt arrow and instead ensure that you're always ready to hit the target?
It's been a lot of learning. So after I qualified, it was the year 2002, I didn't stop learning. So since then, I've done certificates, for example, in risk management, in information systems. I did a master's of commerce many years later. Most recently, I did a doctorate of business administration. So there's been academic learning, which is part of the sharpening. But the bigger part of learning has always been getting involved in new experiences. So at my first employer, I was there for 17 years. And every 2 or 3 years, I would change department and just look for something new to do. It doesn't help that I can get bored quite quickly. So always looking for new challenges and different things. And I think that's where a lot of the sharpening comes. But it's not just in the job as well. I think just how you deal with situations and people and challenges, that's all part of it that prevents you from becoming blunt. Because if you do the same thing again and again, and let's say you're the axe, that axe just becomes blunt from just hitting the same tree over and over.
So diversity actually helps you to sharpen your skill set and your mindset and the way you stay sharp in life, would you say?
Yes, yeah, certainly. Diversity of experience, embracing new experiences, but also embracing the pain where you are in a difficult situation and you need to wiggle your way out of it. Often we shy away from things that will cause us stress, but those are the very same things that will cause us to become sharper. There's always an interesting prayer that someone mentioned where like you can be like, God, I pray that I can be more courageous. But the challenge with that sort of prayer is that the answer means you must be put in situations where you'll need that courage. And those are not nice situations. mostly.
Your growth is never comfortable.
Yes, definitely.
So nobody wants to be the weakest link in a team. What strategies do you employ to ensure that you're contributing your best always?
So in a team, I think, well, in my own experience anyway, we are often the weakest link at some aspect. So I don't think you can ever be in a team where you are strong in every single respect. So you might have someone that's a great coach or motivator. Maybe someone is a great listener. Someone is a great implementer when you've got a plan. Someone is good at keeping time. So to be the sharpest axe doesn't mean that you are good at everything. It actually helps if there's one thing that you're good at and you can actually work with your team to harness that one thing that you believe will be a contribution to the team. So it's like if you take a rugby team, what the prop does in terms of the scrum and winning territory is different from what the backline player does. Maybe they can't do the same thing. They can't win the scrums, but maybe they can be the ones that get the ball from the prop and go around the wing, score the try. So it's about identifying where your strong point is as opposed to looking at where your weaknesses are.
I guess that would also translate into what would be a good team leader, somebody who can identify the strong points and the weak points in their team and know how to apply people to certain skills and jobs or projects that's more attuned to their skill set and what they're sharp, the most sharp at.
Yes, that's a powerful leadership skill. And I think the best leaders are very good at being those iron sharpeners. They know how to uplift their team. They know how to expose them to new opportunities. And they find a way to get something out of each member of the team, even though that team member may seem like they are weak on many fronts. But there'll always be that one emerging strong point in that team member that you can say, hey, if we sharpen you in this area, you could make a very valuable contribution.
What advice would you give to someone who feels that they're constantly lagging behind or the one that everyone waits for?
So we all progress at different paces. Each one of us has got our own path that we're on. You might find that the person that lags behind, maybe they're actually very good at refining that skill that they're working on. Whereas someone who quickly takes the lead, perhaps they might be shallow in terms of their application of whatever skill they are implementing. So you mustn't worry if you feel you're lagging behind. You just need to find your own rhythm. Obviously, if your lagging behind is affecting other people, that's where you need to look for a mentor, and maybe your mentor or your colleagues can help you to see what incremental improvements you can make. And really just to be focused on those small steps, because each step will actually lead to something significant if all those small steps are consistently executed every day.
That's very interesting. You made a very powerful statement earlier when you read from your book. You said, forge your path. How do you interpret this in the context of personal growth and ambition?
It's about creating your own opportunities. So it's not just waiting for opportunities to come to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's about being mindful of the things that will, and let me not say cause you to succeed, because often when you forge your path, you don't know if it will lead to success. So, for example, one of the things that you and I have worked on has been to release a science fiction book, The Fallen Angel. And there's very few similar science fiction books written by local authors in South Africa. And I would say that was a path-forging experience. We don't know where it will lead, but we've picked on something and we've decided to push ahead with it and take the initiative. It's broadly aligned to our goals. And who knows where that journey will lead. So forging your own path has got no guarantees in terms of where that path will go. But what you are guaranteed is this episode is about iron sharpening iron. You are guaranteed that you will definitely be a sharper piece of iron from creating that unique path.
So it's a lot about what you put in effort-wise. I mean, a lot of people have good ideas, but they don't follow through on them, or they're not willing to put in the hard work and the effort and step out of their comfort zones to step out there and forge their own paths. And they would rather, like that Robert Frost poem says, take the easy road and not the road less traveled. That's quite interesting. Can you can you describe a day in your life that epitomizes the idea of relentless sharpening?
One day like that was when I ran an ultramarathon race, and that was probably about 6 or 7 years ago now, a 90K race. It was 12 hours of running. And when I say running, I use that term loosely because I couldn't run for 12 hours. I was in the end walking, running, crawling.
I don't think many people can.
Yes. And there was a lot of sharpening because my comfort zone was, let's say, 40 Ks of running. And if you get to 90 Ks of running in sharpened, just trying out different plans. Like you start an endurance event and you've got plan A and plan B and plan C, which you hope will get you through. But in reality, when you are out there and you're facing the heat, you're tired and you're hungry and thirsty, a particular injury that you thought was solved months ago starts to rear its ugly head. You end up going to plan G, H, I, J, K, all the way up to Z. And that is where sharpening happens, not on the most pleasant of days, but in those extreme situations. And obviously, we can't afford to be in those extreme situations daily because you could become blunt if you're always under stress. But I think from time to time, having those sort of days where you really push yourself the extra mile, and in this case, it was the extra mile, literally.
The extra 50 kilometers.
Yes.
What role do you think a supportive community plays in an individual's process of becoming sharper?
You can really only become sharper as part of a community, because if you think of it, if you were all by yourself, there's no one that is going to push you to become sharper. So you'll only do what you need to be able to survive. And that's quite a low barrier. But if you lift your barrier to the level where you want to thrive, you need to get community around you. And I found in my experience that it's not one community, it's multiple communities. So I've got communities that work with me within my business. I report to a board of directors or several boards that I'm involved in. And those also make me sharper with the way they challenge and question me and out for new ideas. There's also communities in family sense. There's communities in spiritual sense, like people that I meet with regularly where we discuss life's challenges and what we can do to adapt. So I think the average individual should have several different communities where various types of sharpening happen. And I'm also part of Business Leaders Network, where I work alongside other chief executive officers. And that's also sharpening that happens at a different level.
I think what you've explained here now very nicely was that sharpening and the process of that is definitely a multi-level process where you do it on different forms in business, in your personal life, in your physical health, all of those things. It's a cumulative experience and process as you become sharp in all areas of your life. Do you think you can be blunt in one area and sharp in the other?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that is actually truer for more people. If I meet someone that says they are sharp in every area, that gives me cause for concern.
That's interesting.
Because I think they might not have evaluated themselves properly. So I'd say I'm sharp in a few areas and blunt in a whole lot of other areas. And that's where, working with other people helps. Because if you were all around sharp, then why would you work for a company? You might as well just be all by yourself.
Exactly. And yet no man is an island.
Yes, that's so true. Yeah, we're all part of something bigger than ourselves.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what helps us to grow.
So before we end this podcast, could you give the listeners one piece of wisdom or advice on how to make each day a day of growth? And what would that be if you had to give one piece of wisdom?
For me, the biggest principle is about being a lifelong learner.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is even if you get to the age of 90, you should still be saying to yourself, what can I do that will help me to grow? What can I do to, not just to be different, but to get to my highest level of potential? So lifelong learning and adopting that as a daily habit is what helps you to become sharper.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mandla, for chatting to us today about iron sharpening iron.